Hello,
So Trey
hello.
is managing the Happy Healing Shop side of this TikTok live, and I will be moderating this side on Medium Ray Health. But yeah, we're just gonna do maybe what like a casual little live. Any topics
Yeah,
that you have
I
hot and
think
burning on your mind?
I there was a lot of people that have been asking in our private Facebook group about mediumship, just questions like kind of like things you're familiar with, like, oh, how do you observe like auras and things like that. So, but you guys feel free to comment down below and we'll try to get to them as much as possible. And also with our private Facebook group, it is in our link in bio. So, and it's a safe place. People talk about their paranormal stuff, their things they've been seeing, or just trying to support each other. And also lots of parents with sensitive kids but don't know what to do with them, which Maria just gave an awesome workshop about. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, we can definitely. I mean, auras is a topic that is probably one of the hottest topics that we get as questions inquiry wise, and we've discussed it quite a few times on here. But maybe the spin we could talk about today is some of the misconceptions about auras, and also like how to actually see them in a way that's a little more easy than trying to like strain your eyes and do that thing against a white wall. I don't know, some of you have heard that technique. How's that sound, Trang?
Yeah, sounds good. And also, I think people want to know sometimes what auras mean, but I think, I mean, it's a fun topic, but I think sometimes people get caught up in the, like, oh, hers is red. Does that mean she's better? Or, things like that.
Oh, right. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, Trang, that is such a good side. That is such a good thing to mention because, um, humans like to compare and measure. It's like kind of how we understand our existence. But the downfall of that is it creates kind of like a somewhat of a binary way of thinking. It's like this is good, this is bad. And we see that a lot when we're talking about things like demons and other things. There is a lot of gray area in mysticism, and humans have a long way to go in understanding, even remotely, a little bit of this whole all these other dimensions of it. Um, so yeah, any questions that you see on your side before we start?
Yeah. Let's see here. I witnessed a purple aura as my true essence. What does that mean?
Purple aura. Witnessed a purple aura as your true. So if it was like an exercise you were doing where you asked, you couldn't put it out there and said, I want to see the color that most represents my true essence. Or perhaps you just saw it one day. Purple is, I mean, most people will have different colors in their aura, not just one. But you can have a predominant color. And here's the thing too, is that aura colors shift throughout every moment potentially. Maybe subtly, maybe greatly. Maybe 1 minute you're feeling good, and then you sit down next to your negative coworker and they say something and it just brings you down. Your aura is going to look different, right? Like pretty quickly. So we have to acknowledge a little bit that because we are always changing, our aura colors are always changing. But you can have a primary color that's kind of like seems to be stable in there like most of the time. Just like you hear about like indigo kids, like they have a very predominantly indigo aura, but not completely. They just have a lot of indigo in their auras. So purple is a very spiritual color. It's associated with the third eye, and that is the psychic vision, seeing into other dimensions, other realms, getting in touch with your intuition. So people who have purple tend to be intuitive types. They have a strong gut instinct. They may have clairvoyance and a lot of like psychic visions or other psychic gifts that you may or may not realize over time. But at the very least, you may notice you have a strong intuition. And the more anyone starts to practice these things, the more of that color, along with some others that might start showing up. Gold can start to show up, especially around the head as a halo type look. It almost looks like those religious paintings with like Jesus has like a halo or a saint,
Jesus and Mary.
Yeah. Some theorize that those were painted that way because it was how someone had seen like an aura or an energy around them. Because coincidentally, like if you see an aura photography, you'll see like a literal in the exact same spot this kind of like 3/4 circle almost, or about a half circle sometimes, of gold around, sometimes yellow too. And this started to be correlated with, increased wisdom, like it is spiritual studies. Doesn't mean you have all the answers. Doesn't mean you're like ascending to the 5th dimension or whatever people are saying. It just means that you have opened yourself up to a new level of understanding and awareness. And that can come and go as well.
Yeah, I feel like whenever someone speaks in a way where it kind of like the ego, you can tell the ego setting in, and that's when I don't think it resonates with us too.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's kind of when you're explaining how auras change all the time, it's kind of like your chakras come in balance. They come unaligned throughout the day, or throughout the week, depending on what you're going through. The question here, were you scared of opening up to your abilities as a medium?
Oh, extremely. I was like trying to avoid it at all costs. And the ironic thing is that I'm an open-minded person, but I'm also kind of, I really ground myself in a healthy skepticism for as much as possible. Because I find that being someone who's very, very open, I found that to be a good device to keep me grounded and to keep me from falling into like a state of gullibility, which was how I was when I was a kid. I was very gullible and would just believe that, oh, you're that way. You said you were that way. And I used to get made fun of a lot because I was so like kind of innocent and gullible. So I said, you know what, let me follow more of like a scientific approach. And that helped me greatly, and it still does. But that also became kind of a crutch to kind of like avoid, by using my skepticism. I was like trying to like create so much of a barrier that I would say, oh, there's always something to explain this. Like, I don't need to dive deep. There's got to be a medical reason.
It's like you talk yourself out of it through science in a way.
Yeah, through science, right. And that's why it especially was hard to become a practitioner, because I didn't know if I could ever turn off that like skepticism that was constantly running. But with a lot of work and a lot of self-trust, you have to trust yourself. That's the biggest thing. And also knowing what stuff has been propagated like over the years as that scares people away from this stuff, because someone was spread some fear mongering, several decades ago, or some religion has a certain opinion on it. Letting that stuff go and just experiencing it for myself and seeing that it's nothing to be afraid of. Have respect for it, but it's not there to be fear. It's part of our natural living process. That helped me a lot to release, to have a balance,
Yeah, I was just about to ask how you overcame that, but you pretty much answered it. And as a medium, how do you communicate with spirit?
Yeah, so
like, how does it come to you? I know each person's different.
It's such a good question. And honestly, it for me, I use every clair I'm able to access. I got to a place with practice that I'm able to use all the clairs. And for just quick reference, we're talking about psychic hearing, clairaudience, clairsentience, that's feeling, clairvoyance, which is seeing, even taste and smell. So clairgustance, clairalliance, right? Those are some that people don't realize are psychic abilities in certain contexts. And for me, every spirit will use my abilities differently. Some will lean heavy into maybe just my clairsentience and my clairvoyance, and then another one might be like really great about saying full sentences in my ear, and it's like clairaudience is their strong.
Is it kind of like, let's say if they were an artist in this lifetime, do they tend to use more like imagery and video then? Or there's some ones that can show you everything, but somehow I don't know if they're leveled up in the afterlife, or they just know how to work with the energy to show you in all shapes and forms of your abilities.
Yeah, I think in order to preserve some of the authenticity of how their loved ones remembered them, although in the afterlife they don't have to stay as like Jim Bob, like they could be this like infinite being that we all naturally are, and just choose to like pull from all their different lives in the afterlife. Even when coming forward for medium, when they come forward for us, most of the time they're going to present as something pretty closely resembling what their loved ones remember. That way their loved ones can have a sense of validation that it's them. So they're going to bring also through some of the styles, like the way of talking and thinking and acting, personality, although that can change. Like I've seen people who are very grumpy now that they're in the afterlife, and they're not like, they don't have like mental illness anymore. They're like, wee, and like all of a sudden they're like a jokester now. And that was something that they had in life, but they could never express it because it was locked underneath all these barriers. So they will, yeah, they'll use, whether it was their profession, like I've brought through like scientists, and they started drawing diagrams for me, or giving me like very detailed schematics or something like that. And they will use a medium's specialties. So because I have an architecture background and also I design software, they'll use some of my visual techniques. They'll say, oh, we know she's going to understand it if we do it like this. So they'll make something in a way that I can understand for my own skill set and perspective as well. And every medium is going to have that.
And speaking of Maria talking to scientists, if you check out our YouTube channel, it's in our link in bio, but the YouTube channel is The Happy Healing Shop. There's one video you see where she, Albert Einstein came through, and that was pretty interesting. And was talking about
drawing on a whiteboard.
I know. And I remember you were in that video, you were channeling, and you were just like,
I wasn't expecting that to happen. Yeah. I literally was completely caught off guard. And I was told by a medium a long time ago, prior to that Albert Einstein would like it was a kind of advisor, spiritual advisor from the other side that were from the same soul family. And I was like, get out of here. Like, oh, you're probably just telling me that. And I just I resisted the idea, and out of nowhere, when I wasn't even thinking about it, he just dropped in and was like, I can explain that. And I was like, what the, so you can see that happen live. My live reaction happened in that video.
And how does language work when you're communicating with the spirit? Especially they didn't know English in this time.
Yeah, so the one of the things to fundamentally understand is that when you cross over, you go from being in a meat body with a brain that can only do some things, and you can only do those certain things with other people, to being like back to your infinite being self, where you're just like a light that never dies, that has a wisdom of the universe available to them, easily accessible. And beings, once you cross over, you communicate telepathically with other spirits. You're just it's literally they just kind of merge their energy. Information is exchanged. Really, that's it. So as mediums, we kind of can get a middle ground of that. So for example, they can drop a download by coming in contact with us. They kind of drop a download of information, almost like a packet. This was my early life. And in that packet might have scenes from their childhood. It might have feelings. It might have all these things that they think are going to be a good collection to show you, to kind of help you paint the picture to your client, which is their loved one. So they don't need they don't need to talk in their native tongue at all. They can adapt to whatever the medium is doing because they are infinite energies at that point. But they will sometimes give me their accent, because that can help me figure out where they're from. And that was something that I developed the ability to do years into my practice. It wasn't something I could do right away. So as a medium or a psychic is honing their skills, they will kind of unlock new levels, like a video game, of their own power.
I was about to say, is it kind of with more practice and experience, when you're pulling through or channeling different people and loved ones, that you start to, in a way, calibrate and be like, oh, okay, this is what this means. Oh, okay, I'm starting to realize this is what this symbol means. Things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the first, several times you're going in doing a reading, you may be like, okay, they're showing me this. I don't know what it means. Some psychics will kind of develop a library of imagery and stuff like that. Teresa Caputo, love her, hater. She I noticed she used a very strict kind of set of almost imagery that it's when the spirit would plug into her, they knew that she preferred to use that. Whereas for me, I like to open it up. I like to go real big and be like, let me challenge me. Let me see if I can figure it out. And because I use all my senses, that helps me to start to put different feelings and senses together to create a picture that I can translate. And then the next time I see that pattern, I'm like, aha. I, like, for example, after so many readings, I know that when my back and my shoulders start electrically tingling like static, I know there's a spirit standing near me ready, wanting to talk to me. That's something I just picked up. Or oh, I'm getting this pain in my chest and where my heart is. That's because the spirit had a heart problem or died of a heart attack. Took me some time to figure out why that was happening during readings. And so you just got to be vigilant and take notes.
Yeah, like taking kind of like journaling the patterns, because I remember when you did a psychic night at my a friend's place, and all of a sudden your left leg out of nowhere like was like you even curled up being like, my leg, and we all were like, are you okay, what happened? And it was the spirit showing that he had like a leg injury. So that was interesting. And
It's
I also felt bad for you because you feel the pain and the sensations and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. There's one time I felt like I suddenly I was just talking to someone at a psychic night event we were hosting. This is all pre-COVID, and all of a sudden I start like suffocating, like I'm like, you know, and I didn't know what was happening until a little bit later that night. A spirit came through for someone that was getting a reading with me, and the person, that spirit, had drowned. And so they were trying to give me information before the reading even started, like about an hour before, which sometimes they can come in like a week or two before a reading.
Yeah. Sometimes they
And start
hijack the
doing that.
reading. I remember there were a couple
They
times
do.
where, like, if you're doing a reading for someone, the spirit for the next reading would kind of come in and you'd be like, is this George? And they're like, I don't know a George. And then the next person's like, yeah, that's my uncle. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. Separating them out and creating boundaries is another thing mediums have to really learn how to do. And you don't have to be a jerk about it. Like, just gently say like, please line up, or, let's just, start with this person if everyone else can stand back, because those other spirits crowding too close to the spirit you're talking to, because they're just energetic beings, you just start picking up all this noise and you'll start getting bits and pieces of all their stuff, and it'll kind of amalgamate, so you have to learn your own boundaries as a practitioner. Samra is saying, how are you answering questions? So yeah, this is basically a Q&A about anything mystical, magical, psychic, whatever. We're not doing readings, but this is basically an educational session where if you want to learn more about this stuff, astrology, all that stuff, drop a question in the comments.
Yeah, and we also have a bunch of free resources at our website, thehappyhealingshop.com. There's a blog full of so many articles that we wrote about, like shadow people and crystals, tarot, and all that stuff. And then our YouTube channel is like a really chock full library of information, and that's the Happy Healing Shop as well. Can you predict pregnancies and if it's going to be a boy or girl?
Yes. Now, the stipulation is always, things can change from the time of that reading. Oh, hey, Virginia. Things can change from the time of that reading. So I always give a disclaimer and tell other students of ours to give the disclaimer that, we're reading the current timeline, the current trajectory right now. Other things can come into play, like your free will, for example, or the other person's free will. That could put you on a forked path, and then it forks again, and it forks again, right? So we're just reading for that current, like the most likely path based off the energy you've had up to that day. So yes, I have. I've predicted, I've even helped someone who was looking like, should I adopt? Should I get a surrogate? So we explored each path to see which path was better for everyone's highest and greatest good that was going to be involved, the child, the parents, etc. And we uncovered a path that they hadn't paid as much attention to, but was way better for their life. And so, there's a lot of cards in the tarot, for example, that can tell of fertility, can even show issues with, some people use tarot for medical type readings. Now, any kind of sensitive reading, whether it's like, it's a relationship reading, it's a reading about a kid or having a child and stuff like that. Things are very personal to people and very sensitive. You want to be very, very gentle and very careful. And, if you see something very kind of dark show up in the reading, it's your responsibility as a reader to very gently, help that person understand there's some potential risks. And, if it's a medical reading, make sure that you point them to say, hey, if you have any concerns, you should go to a doctor. You should go to a medical practitioner. I'm not qualified. We're just looking at energies here. So, we don't want to use it as replacement, but it can tell quite a lot.
Yeah. And let's see here. How do I know if I have mediumship abilities? Ooh.
It's kind of a process, if you have a parent that's already really in tune with their abilities, you're probably going to know from a young age and potentially be encouraged. But and so you'll be able to kind of know, but like most people who have abilities, like do that whole struggle where they think they're going crazy because they might be completely rational, logical people, but they start to get visited by things in their sleep, like get woken up in the middle of the night by beings, or people talking in your ear or something. Yeah, like that happens a lot with mediums. Or, feeling like you meet someone and then you suddenly know things about them, and, someone you can hear like telling you like, I'm the grandmother and, that's my son. And, now again, disclaimer, there are mental health conditions and neurological conditions and other conditions that can cause similar type experiences. So if you have any questions, of course, make sure you rule out any medical stuff. But this is basically we're just kind of speaking metaphysically only. So you basically, you're gonna be sensitive to energies as a kid. You can kind of maybe tell when people are lying. There's a lot of crossover between like psychic symptoms and like mediumship symptoms, because all mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are comfortable being mediums. So that's a little bit of a distinction.
Yeah, I'm very like weary because the thing is, most of the time when clients come and they say, am I gonna have a kid? Am I gonna be pregnant? You can tell the desperation energy. And
Right.
so it's really hard to, such a touchy topic, but at the same time, it's hard to tell them as well. Sometimes they don't want to, how do I say this? It's hard to tell sometimes if they're ready to hear what the message is. And a lot of the times, for example, people can't get pregnant and they've been trying. And, on our YouTube channel, we talk about the womb energy. And if there's so much pressure on it, kind of like how you had friends where they're not even worried, they're on vacation, boom, they got pregnant. And there's people that have been trying for years. And it's just that pressure and that stress that's really hurting the womb to allow a fertile environment for them. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, someone has a
And
question here
yeah, yeah.
which it's been sitting for a while. Diaz Maribel asks, "So cool. Can anyone use tarot cards, or should it be someone with experience in readings?" Anyone can use tarot cards. It's just a tool. It's not going to hurt you. Oh, just because you have it. You just want to make sure that you respect it. Not that if you disrespect it, it's going to do anything to you, but I mean that more for your sense of structure. Like, and I wouldn't, do readings when you're really inebriated or like high or something. Like, just because like it may not be like a good, clear environment to like make connections and remember things. And it does affect, your energy field and stuff. Some people love to read when they're inebriated because they feel more open, which is like, yeah, it can't happen. But it's also not necessarily, you're kind of relinquishing a lot of control because you're just loosey goosey, but
Liquid
yeah,
courage.
yeah, liquid courage. So seriously, like I've met several mediums are like, oh yeah, I if I'm like at a restaurant drinking, all of a sudden I'll just start reading everybody. I'm like, oh, doesn't matter how much I drink, I'm not doing that. Like I value my personal space. But the thing is, you can get a tarot deck and start practicing. Even better for a beginner, I would recommend an oracle deck that has it kind of like really, pretty imagery on it, and a nice little paragraph or word at the bottom that says exactly what the card means. And that kind of gets you used to like working with imagery and colors and stuff, and like how to arrange the cards, and things like that.
Also on our YouTube channel, if you're just like, I don't know which ones to choose, or I'm a total newbie, Maria actually reviews some of her favorite decks of tarot and oracle cards on our the YouTube channel, The Happy Healing Shop. Ooh, this one, Maria, I think you could help. How do you let go of fear when starting to tap out into your psychic abilities?
How do you let go of fear? Yeah.
That's a big
It's
one.
a process, and honestly, it can take years, but it may not take years for you. It's different for everybody, but usually, if you if you start to get to know a lot of different psychic mediums, you know, even healers, they might share with you that that's a common experience. You might start to notice that pattern, because we are all living in a very dense reality, and we rely on a lot of tangible things to like help us feel connected and grounded, and we get really uncomfortable when we're not relying on something tangible that you could pick up or look at, and honestly, like, you have to start first developing, working on your own trust issues with yourself. Do you have insecurity with who you are and how you are, what you do? Have you been made to feel like you're not good enough? A lot of times is the base for a lot of fears that people have trouble getting rid of, because it's so personal. So look at it as more of like, how can you continue to work on yourself as a person while also practicing a new craft? And those two are going to go together nicely. Try not to think of it as like, I need, like, specifically need to let go of this in order to be a psychic. It's more like, start letting go of it by getting therapy and doing inner child work and stuff, shadow work for yourself, so that you can have a happier life, and then that will eventually trickle into your practice.
Yeah, and we also, speaking of shadow work, in Maria and I, we both took a long time, lots of hours, and we create a shadow work self-healing journal. So we sell a PDF version for those who want more, just print out, or it's like budget friendly. And then we also have a physical copy. So there's exercises, we walk you through it, about just like inner healing, and just like, yeah, just healing from what's happened to you in the past. And there's been some deep sessions we've had in our inner child workshops. Uh, why has my grandma not visited me yet? She's visited other family members, but it's been over a month, and she has not visited me in my
That's a
sleep.
great question, and it's so interesting you asked that, because I was just thinking about this exact kind of question the other day, because my grandmother, I was thinking to myself, like, if someone asks this, I'm going to give this example about my grandma. So my grandmother passed away years ago, right? But like, and she did come to me like during the day, not like full on, but like through like animals and stuff and symbols. But then it took like probably like, it's probably been like 7, 8 years. And only in the last couple years, especially the last year, has she started like super showing up in my dreams. Like, to like, I feel like I see her in my dreams all now. It's not even like a shock anymore. I'm like, ah, she's in my dream again. Like, cool. She likes to sit and just kind of observe and give advice. So, it takes time for us to have a certain resonance too. And it's not because like you're not doing something right. It's because you need a certain amount of time to heal. And that affects your own energy and receptiveness and stuff like that subconsciously, right? So as you start to continue to heal, your energy will become more receptive, and they can sense when it wouldn't be beneficial. Even if you feel like it would be, there's something they might be seeing that they're only going to work off your highest and greatest good. So if it's not, if they're being guided by your guides, etc., to stand back a little bit, they will, but they're there. They just they may just not be overtly in your dreams right away, but do know that they're around you all the time, giving you symbols and things like that, messages, pushing you in certain directions, guiding you. And the other thing that can happen is that we may not remember sometimes. A lot of times we do, because it's very distinctive energy to that dream. But sometimes we just may not remember. We may have a kind of a feeling left behind. We're like, I think something happened. I can't quite remember, but I can like have this feeling, right? The feeling is the most important thing. More than even being visited in a dream is the feeling of sensing them with you. It's like this feeling in kind of in like your heart. You might get memories suddenly flooding in out of nowhere. That could be them triggering those, that they're there. So just keep an eye out for all the other ways they can communicate too, and be patient with yourself.
Yeah, I had a friend who, his coworker who passed away suddenly, uh, he figured, he's like, I think that's her, and it was just a hoodie with a you know, like a zipper, just hanging over a chair. And, you know, there's just, he's just sitting at his table working away, and in the corner of his eye, he just sees a zipper like move like quite a bit, and then that's when he was like, Ellie. So it's just even things like that where not everyone has to do, not every spirit has to come through a dream. Like, yeah, like, how do I say this? It's like when you die and you're a spirit and you're like, okay, there's like a couple ways I can do this. Not everyone's going to interpret dreams well. Maybe if I move something here, knock over a candle, I don't know, or, you know, things like that. So send them a feather, you know, so you, in our human form, we think like, oh, we're comparing it to other people. You know, that's where ego gets in. But you know, we have to be open to many things, or even repeating numbers.
Oh, someone
Hello,
just asked
Marissa.
about angel numbers.
Yeah. What's it
Over
called?
here.
Marissa said this happened to me. I can feel that they were there more than I see them. Yeah. Uh.
Do you mind if I answer this one over here?
Oh
Unless
yeah. I didn't know. Go
uh,
ahead.
so there's two. One was just commenting. Banana Isabel says, "I've never been visited by my grandmother, and she was so close to me. She passed 2015, or maybe I just didn't recognize if she did." So here's the thing too, like even as a psychic medium, the majority of my family members that have died, and I've had a lot of family members die, have not come to me in dreams. They just they come to me in a lot of other ways. Or maybe some of them I don't really notice that they come around and like notice overtly. But what I do allow myself to feel like I feel supported, and that's the most important thing. Like just feel the support of them being there. Like they are literally there with you so much, you know. Um, and then the booty booty claps says, "What does seeing angel numbers for months mean?" This is a great question. This kind of goes off the back of seeing numbers all the time after someone dies. That's one case where it could happen if a spirit is communicating with someone. Another reason you can start seeing a bunch of numbers is like one of your spirit guides, your higher self, is trying to get in contact with you to nudge you and say, yes, I'm going to send this person this number that's like repeating, and it's going to stick out so much that they're going to go look it up. And when they look it up, it's going to say it has a meaning. And then they're going to be like, oh, this means manifestation is happening. And then they're going to like start noticing it more and more. And that's going to cue them to be like, pay attention to your mindset. Like this number is indicating like right now's a moment to like pay attention, you know, it could be like that. Right. The other thing I like to look at the universe is like a computer program. And basically like when we start to resonate at a certain frequency, we start to attract other things of a similar frequency, and numbers have a frequency. So just like everything else that in existence has some sort of way we can measure it. So numbers, since they have an energy, have a frequency, I think it will start becoming attracted to people, just like colors might and other things, what at a certain frequency. And that's why people have probably been able to translate these and call them angel numbers, because there's patterns we notice over time. So yeah, continue like looking into angel numbers and see what resonates with you. For me, 111 showed up years ago, and now it's just everywhere, like constantly. Like it's actually hilarious the ways that it shows up. But I always like notice it. Like I'll get drawn right to it. So, and it's a number of, being aware of your thoughts and manifesting. You know.
Boom. Um, I have a toxic family member. Will they be mean if I go get a reading with her?
So if your toxic family member has passed on the other side, just know that like in my experience as a medium, um, when I brought through like some pretty gnarly people, like people that are like quite bad in life, they were quite bad to people in life.
Yeah.
They a lot of times will come through like extremely emotional. Like it's just an interesting pattern. I mean, it's their chance to finally show that side they could not get a grasp of or could not even understand in themselves. And they do a lot of apologizing. I'll tell you what, they do a lot of apologizing. And another weird phenomenon I noticed is a lot of times they try to help so much. Like they want to try and make some of the energy right karmically and stuff with you. And they might take more interest in certain things than you would have ever imagined. to try and help you in the areas that they may have hurt you in. So don't be surprised if they come through with some of their personality traits, but then they're also like maybe apologizing a lot or crying, or they come in. I've seen spirits come in like one of this really gnarly guy, like someone's dad, I believe, and he came through like with his really like humble, you know, kind of like, and I asked him, why are you doing that, you know? And he said like he feels almost like he doesn't deserve. He had this like feeling of like I was so bad to this person that I'm like so humbled and that they even want to even entertain talking to me, and almost like they didn't deserve this, you know, to be able to talk to them. But what they ended up conveying was like extraordinarily healing. And as then before you know it, guess what? The other person, the client who was sitting for me during the reading, started to open up. Their body language started to open up. The spirit and started to open up their body language, and they're both laughing. And I'm conveying jokes from one to another. And before you know it, there's this beautiful healing, and they're both crying together, and it's just like wow, you know. So and just so you know, I do not ask for any information before I go into readings. So this is just me coming cold into a reading and seeing a spirit, you know, like, and finding, and then saying, oh, he's telling me he was really bad to you. He was abusive. He was this, he was that. And the person going, yep, yeah, yeah. And so that's one of the big things, you know, you can get out of when you read with psychic mediums.
Yeah, I wish those readings were public so people can see the energy shift and the healing that goes in. But it is such a very intense. When I watched the playback, it is intense, you know, and the spirit usually explaining why, what happened in their past and made them the way they are, and how they're so apologetic. And they, you know, when they die, they see the ripple effects of like how they affected their kid. Um, and so I think, you know, it's one of those things where a psychic medium can totally be unethical and say, like, kind of like where someone had that one where they're like, oh, I didn't want to do psychic medium reading, but my friend pushed me to do it with you. But it's because the last one I went to, he just said, oh, your loved one's here and they are with you all the time and they want to say that they love you so much. And this is like, you know, the
Was
abuser.
it?
So it's very like,
Oh
what?
no.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so it's, but then when I watched yours, you kind of go through an explanation of, well, the spirit explains, like, yes, obviously they do in the afterlife and they see it, but it's also more of like explaining everything, what they see. And like what you said, like the spirit being humble and being like, I can't believe you're allowing me to talk to you, things like that. So, actually, now on the topic of this, what are some red flags you'd say for when in a medium or a psychic?
Oh yeah. So if they ask you for like information, like personal information before the reading, just cancel your reading. They should not be asking you for a darn thing before they start the reading. You don't want nothing that they can do like you should just like book an appointment and then just show up. Okay? If they start asking you questions during the reading, like a lot of questions, not just like, does this resonate with you? Yes or no. That's a technique. That's just like a standard way that mediums just make sure we can move on to the next thing. But like if they're like actually kind of like roundabout asking you questions, you know, and stuff like more and more detail, like yeah, giving you really generic statements and never being able to pull anything that's like truly validating that they couldn't have known, you know, then yeah, they
Kind of
either are
like they
very
love you.
underdeveloped, they shouldn't be practicing, they're not ready yet, or they're fraudulent. So yeah, real mediums do not need anything going
Yeah.
into a session.
Also, there's also online scams to watch out for.
Oh,
I have to make a video. I scammed a psychic scammer, but I didn't finish making that video yet. So, um,
yeah,
it's a new video. Like they try to go for it, and I pretend I Venmoed them, and they so pretty much what they did was they say like they always say like, oh, are you looking for? They reach out to you, which is kind of weird because usually you know you're supposed to reach out to them, book through their platform, but not them soliciting. And you know when they say I'm sensing this energy from you, or even um, or you know I see like this curse or
oh, the curse.
yeah, and people really do like, especially when they're in a bad place, they believe that. So, so I went through with he or she thought I paid them. And then so they started upselling me afterwards, being like, and that message they gave was it was like generic, like, yeah, it was very generic. But obviously, I can see how someone in a dark place would fall for it. And then they said like, oh, do you know what this not package, but this like tool is? And I said no. And it was just like, oh, this will help cleanse, your energy and everything. It's $200. So first I fake paid him $40, and then that scammer upsell told more like negative information, negative energy, that type of stuff. And at the end of the day, you can always cleanse your own energy. We have more information about that on our website, thehappyhealingshop.com. But that is what I FYI about how online scammers work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and a lot of people impersonate like psychic accounts that have a certain amount of followers. So, like Trang, both Happy Healing Shop and my personal account here have gotten ripped off and scammed and replicated like so many times. We were reporting constantly. And they weren't taking them down. So we've lost track. So if you see someone like contacting you looking like us or any other psychic, and they're like, oh yes, your aura's so nice, I want to give you a reading, like just freaking report them.
What type of accent was that? Oh, so nice.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah. And it's so funny because he's the same line with everyone.
Yeah, Shelby, hello. OMG, I miss
I
you so
know,
much.
Shelby. Thanks, Shelby. You're so sweet.
We also have in October we have a Zoom
I miss
event because we love like Halloween stuff. So we have a Zoom event where Maria's gonna talk about spooky stuff. So if you guys want to sign up for that, it's a free event. It's in our link in bio, or visit our website. Let's see here. Oh, I'm a medium, but have never met one of my spirit guides. Any ideas why?
Because you don't need to. And it's maybe controversial, right? But here's the thing. This is one of the big like misconceptions. I don't want to like just like punch a hole through it and like just discard it. Like, you don't need to know who your spirit guide is. They are guiding you all the time. If you want to know who your spirit guide is, that's cool. You can do that with development. Just like you learn to talk to spirits.
They've said like there's people that come to us and they say like, how many do I have and what are their names? And in a way it's kind of like, do you need to know that? But yeah, continue.
Right. So I do spirit guide readings, but I always tell people I will stop at a certain point of information because I'm like, now you figure out the rest if you want to know, because like you learn your connection with your own guide is, and know that it's in your freaking heart. Like, I know it sounds cheesy, but you literally just feel it. And the most important thing is that you can develop a feeling connection where you're like, I feel their presence, or like, I feel guided today. If you feel like someone like you, so many things could have gone wrong, but you're just like weaving through it somehow, yeah, give your guide some thank you. You know what I mean? Like, someone's looking out for you. Or maybe an angel, maybe a family member. But just the most important thing is that you just send love to all those who are looking out for you in the other dimensions. That's it. And because I was trying to find out who my spirit guides were for years and getting so mad, and they kept saying to me, I kept hearing this collective kind of voice come through saying like, you need to learn the lesson of that this isn't necessary. And I was like, but everybody else, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, you don't need to know that. You don't need to know our names or what we look like to be guided. And I was resisting. And then finally I just let it in. Oh my gosh. It's so much better. And I do know what some of mine look like now, actually. Ironically, once I relinquished that expectation, I did end up getting visions and stuff like that, and names and things. But I still haven't identified all my guides. But what I do is I thank them regularly. I ask them for guidance. And I feel them in my heart. I feel them in my heart chakra all the time, with me, just gently nudging me through life. That's all you need to know. Everything else is just gravy, and that's just more for like personal preference.
Yeah, I feel like the human ego kind of kicks in when you're like, oh well, my friend was told they had 8 spirit guides and I only have 3. And
Oh,
it's not like it's not like humans where like you have a team of 8 people and a team of 3 people, and like the team of 8 is holding up the fort. Like who knows? A team of 3 is all you need to guide you at this point in time in this certain phase of your life. But it also reminds me when people ask that, or you were talking about it, is when people come to a mediumship session and you're giving them the message, the important message that spirit's trying to give them to heal, right? But a lot of times people are like focusing too much on, well, my mom or my dad said he was going to give me the symbol of a pink flower, but you didn't say that. They're too focused on
that's
the
exactly the
like the
same. Yeah,
message. Yeah.
same mindset. Yep.
Same thing with the spirit guides. It's like the more important thing is to try to feel them out, or try to also just set the intention to communicate with them. It could be simple as, hey, please help me during this time. Send someone across my way. And when you have those synchronicities or coincidences, they're working, but you got to ask for it. But if you keep paying attention to, I only have 3, but like so and so has 8, that's just taking
Oh yeah, that doesn't
away
matter at all. It's just not how it has no relevance in the other, the beyond, or whatever you want to call the other dimensions. You can't measure things there. Doesn't matter. 8's the same as 2. But dude, Trang, I as we wrap up here, is there any burning questions you'd like us to chat about as we close out?
I just have a lot of highs on the side. So hello, Birdie Booha and Zoo times 2.
Oh, hey, Zoo times 2. And then Shelby saying, I love my spirit guides so much. They've given me so much clarity. Yes, exactly. They have so much to offer.
As we wait, if you guys have any last minute questions, I'm just going to put in a plug here that Maria, she does teach psychic abilities course. And all this information that I'm about to say is through our link in our bio or at thehappyhealingshop.com. So she teaches, we have a free quiz that you can take to figure out what abilities you have. I don't have all the ones that Maria has, but I have some. So for example, I'm more claircognizant. So I would take the claircognizance course. We also have Reiki energy healing as well, very beginner friendly. And that's probably our most popular, highly rated one as well. And our shadow work self-healing journal and workshops and events. And then also, again, the free resources we have for those, because we get it. Not everyone has the stuff right now to financial means. So there's a lot of information on our YouTube, our blog, and our private Facebook group. Again, our private Facebook group is called Happy Healers. So that can be found on Facebook and also through our link in our bio.
And one last thing here. Thank you so much for that, Trang. Shelby was just asking if readings are open or if they're still closed. So readings are not open to the public right now. We're just finishing up the wait list from when I was on disability for a long time. And then, Trang, do you want to explain the new paradigm
for
readings? Just like, are we like?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was for readings. It was for we have our membership as well, and we're prioritizing people in our membership after she finishes her wait list. Yeah, because there's way too many people that ask from the outside, so we kind of try to figure out a way to kind of prioritize people in the queue.
Yeah. But other than that, thank you all for being here. Thanks, Trang. I hope you stay cool.
Oh, I thank you guys for watching me glisten in the heat right here.
I definitely could like secondhand feel the humidity.
Yeah.
But I was like that all day until I got home. I just have a bunch of fans on me right now. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. And we'll be back at you with more content and stuff soon. But in the meantime, everybody stay safe out there. And only one more day of Mercury retrograde, and then we're freaking done. So
very cool, everyone.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Sending love to you too, Miss Marissa and Shelby. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.